Okay, so welcome back guys, and in this tutorial we'll be looking at loops. Now within loops, specifically we're going to look at for loops. So a loop is basically a block of code that continues repeatedly. It's a process that continues. And a for loop loops through an object or a sequence. That could include lists. Now lists will be something we'll look at later on. However, I can show an example. So let's create a new file. To get started with a for loop, we can create a list. My list is equal to, and then so this is how we do lists. We use a square brackets and then we can chuck in whatever we want in there. We can have strings, integers, doubles, whatever data type you want. For our example, we can just do numbers, and we can go up to 3, and we can do the loop here. So the for loop has for I. So I is basically what I'm using as my variable. So this variable is referring to whatever you're continuing the for loop for. So for I in my list, so for a value in these 3 numbers, we want it to print I. Okay, so if you run it, you basically get the 3 numbers printed out, because we've just said get the values from this list, take it as I, and then print it out. And do this for every value in this list. So it's a loop that loops through a sequence or an object. Now we can loop through an object, which we haven't done here. We can basically say for I in range. Now this is a new keyword. It's basically referring to the boundaries. So the boundaries of 2 numbers, and we have this here. We have the parentheses or brackets. Here we can define the 2 values that we want to have the range between, so 0 and 10. And now we can have a third parameter. So whatever you put in here are called parameters. This is the first one, this is the second. Now we can have a third one. The first one is starting, the second one is the ending, and the third one is how much you want to skip by. You can actually skip by more than 1. Instead of incrementing by 1, increasing by 1 in other words, it can skip by 2, say for example. And we can have the then. For I in the range of these 2 numbers, and by skipping 2, we can just say print I. So it'll print out every value that is going through in this loop. So now basically we can ignore the first 3 numbers here, but as you can see, it started off with 0. It skips 2 and goes to 2, skips 2, goes to 4, and then so on. It does that until it gets to the end. Now, if we actually just remove this just for now, we get rid of that and we save and run the program, you'll notice that the number goes up to 9, and you might be wondering, well, we asked it to go from 0 to 10, so it starts off at 0, yes, that's good, but it ends at 9. And the reason for this is Python has something called indexing. So we'll index the value, and in general terms, this is the first value and this is the 10th. That's why it's taking this and indexing it. So the 10th value is 9. That's how easy for loops are. So that's the end of this tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.